Yep.
The people have spoken, TB.
Exactly. Mariners, Angels, Yankees, Rays, D-backs, Braves, Tigers, Guardians, free plays in all 4 of those games coming up right now here on First Pitch. And of course, what you want us to cover if you're joining us live here. If you are, like, subscribe. If you're on the rewatch, make sure you comment below and let us know what your favorite plays are for tonight. Let's get right into it. Tokyo Brandon joining us. We also got Adam Trigger in the wings. And we're going to be chatting those 4 games and more here. Mariners Angels is what we'll bat lead off here, chatting about here as Tokyo Brandon has a play for us in that one. 9:38 start here on the West Coast, and it's Castillo and Kochanowicz. I think I actually nailed that one here. TB, how are we looking to bet this one here? Pretty big favorites for the road team here. Not really surprising as they're going up against the Angels, but where are you finding value in this one?
So I like the trajectory that the Mariners lineup is on. They were towards the bottom of Major League Baseball, ranked second to last for a long time. Their bats are heating up now, and Castillo's actually heating up now too. He had a very slow start to this season, but his last few starts he's doing much better. He's still a guy with a 1-1 whip. I mean, his whip is not bad at all. Historically, he doesn't have great stats against the Angels, but he has held them to a 207 batting average against. And Castillo is Castillo. This is the time of year where teams are starting to roll out their AA, AAA guys. And the starter today for the Angels, he has a 4+ ERA in AA ball. So I don't have a lot of hope in his chances here today against a Seattle lineup that's heating up. I have Seattle's batters ranked 23 out of 30, but actually if you take the last 3 or 4 games, it's a lot better than that, where I have the Angels ranked 28th. I do like some of the young guys in the Angels lineup, but still, this is not a major league lineup. Bullpens, Seattle has a huge advantage. I have Seattle ranked in the top 10, ranked 9 out of 30, where I have the Angels right around 16. So given all that, I really like Seattle to win this game today. When I put it out, the price was -155, which is a little more palpable than what it is now, is like -166 or so. So what you can do is a little trick here is you can take a -1 if your book allows a -1 alt line, which means it's a little less riskier than the -1.5, because if your team wins by 1, it's a push, which is a good way to cut off about 30 cents off a big favorite. You can probably get a -1 for about -145 or so, which is a little more palpable. So I do like the Mariners today, and I'm backing Castillo and this lineup that's starting to catch a little bit of a fire.
Seattle Mariners, and you can shop around. I mean, we're seeing as high as 170 on that one. We're seeing as low as under 160. So you can definitely shop around for that one, or attack it the way the TB's saying. You can split it, or you can find those -1s out there at some different of those regulated sports books. Trey, for you, you want to take a look at this D-backs and Braves game, and it's going to be Fried and Fott here, and another road favorite. We're seeing that a couple times here on the board, and also some big home favorites like Boston and Houston that we'll be talking about here a little bit later in the show. But for you in this one, Arizona gets the win yesterday in tight fashion, but in over fashion as well. You expect runs in this one again, and are we going to the well with the home dog here? What do you think?
Yeah, so I chose this game because I was on the Diamondbacks last night. Fortunately, they got the win. Really great game. They came back a couple of different times and ended up getting over the hump and winning 7-5. And I had this pegged for the show because I would have played the D-backs in this spot had they not won last night. So I kind of had, I looked at yesterday's game and I liked this matchup as well. And I said, okay, I'm going to play last night. If they don't win, I'll probably come back with them today. So the only reason I haven't added this to my card yet, and I probably won't, is I feel like I already kind of got my money with the Diamondbacks. Like I don't know that I have to go back and play against Fried here, but I would caution against just like thinking the Braves are going to bounce back and win this game. and laying a price on the road. Like, I still like how this sets up for Arizona. So, finally last night they get over the hump against the Braves. They had lost 5 previous meetings against this Braves team. Games that were very competitive. Of course, on Monday they ended up losing in extra innings. There was a couple of, I believe that the Fried game from the first series was like a crazy game where he got shelled and the Braves came back and won. So pretty unlucky that the Arizona Diamondbacks were 0-5 against the Braves going into last night. Of course, one finally goes their way last night, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it go their way here. I love this Diamondbacks team. We've talked about them, Dan. We've done videos about them. We've brought them up on this show. I still think there's a ton of untapped potential in this Diamondbacks roster. I don't think it's a stretch at all to think that they're going to be back in the playoffs this year. I don't know if they'll be back in the World Series, but this team, they have tons of guys at Reno right now that all could contribute. I just like the makeup of this team, and I still think they're undervalued by the market. And now, after a little bit of a run where they, maybe weren't as hot as they were in June, they bounced back a little bit, had a really good series against the Padres, come back from a couple losses and win last night. Paul Sewald gets a big save after blowing a couple. That's huge for him. Eugenio Suarez last night, he's been he's been nothing all year. He's batting under 200 as of a couple weeks ago, and now he has a big sort of breakout game, double, a big home run, to tie that game early. If he gets hot, that's just another guy that we know, watching him throughout his career has a ton of upside that hasn't even been remotely tapped into so far this season. Ketel Marte hits a home run last night. I still think he's one of the best 10 to 15 position players in baseball, criminally underrated in my opinion. When he's going, he's as good as anyone out there. And it all kind of rolls up into, you're going to pay a premium for Max Fried. That's not rocket science. Like, pretty much at any point, Fried's on the mound, you're usually going to have to pay a premium to back him. And why would you want to do that here, right? Like last time out against your Phillies, Dan, he gets lit up, 6 runs on 11 hits. The Diamondbacks handed him his worst start of his career earlier this year. 8 runs, 7 earned, 10 hits, 4.1 innings pitched. I believe it was the most runs he's ever given up in a start in his career. So you can look at that a couple of different ways. One, you can say, okay, well, that's not the norm for Fried. And of course, in 15 starts since, his ERA is 2.41. But I'll play devil's advocate here in favor of the Diamondbacks. You could also say, well, the D-backs absolutely mash left-handed pitching. They've been doing it all season. They've been at the top of Major League Baseball in every metric offensively against left-handed pitching. And so, do you really want Fried here off of a bad start? And going into the All-Star break, remember, these guys, it's still their job, right? They've still been going to work every day. They had to go to spring training. They are a week in a lot of vacation, right? So I always tend to I don't love this last week before the All-Star break for that reason, but he could be getting a little bit tired, right? And maybe not the best spot for Fried to have to go against a D-backs lineup that just feasts on lefties. Brandon Pfaadt, on the other hand, you could look at the Diamondbacks yesterday and say, okay, they used a lot of bullpen, but Pfaadt's been pretty much 6 innings every start. And last start is a little bit deceiving because he left that start early because he got hit with a line drive. And they just kind of decided, all right, he's got a couple guys on. It was a high leverage spot, got hit with a line drive, and they took him out of the game in a game that Arizona ended up winning anyway. So I think the fact that he only went 4 1/3 is deceiving because every other start has been 6+ or right around 6 innings. You're probably getting Gabriel Moreno back today, and you just got the final point I'll make here. Arizona's bullpen's really good. And I think that they're underrated. When they brought in Ginkel or they brought in Mantiply in the 5th yesterday, and then Ginkel in the 6th, and I'm like, man, they got the luxury of bringing these 2 guys in that early in the game. Martinez comes in and throws 100. Then you've got Sewald looking like normal at the end of the game. There's a lot of really good bullpen arms. And yesterday's game, for the most part, they were all quick innings, easy quick innings. The only one that really got into trouble was Thompson in the 8th when he gave up the home run to Ozuna. So you'll see a lot of those guys from yesterday again. Ginkel had a 15-pitch inning. Sewald pretty much 1, 2, 3, no problem. So all of that being said, I just think that Arizona at home, where they play better. Their splits are better. At plus 105, plus 110, I think was what it was this morning when I decided to talk about this game, is pretty good value. I don't know if I'll go back to the well because I cashed with them last night, but if I was going to bet this game, no question I'd take the plus money here.
Taking the plus money or passing, that's Atlanta and Arizona. And yeah, sometimes it's like you just want to take the money and run when you feel like you maybe got away with one. With the comeback nature of last night's game, I understand being a little bit trepidatious, a little bit trigger shy, no pun intended there. Hey, if you're hanging out with us, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. You're joining us here on X, on Instagram, on TikTok. Hit that follow button. We would appreciate it. We still got coming your way best bets in the Yankees and Rays game and in the Tigers and Guardians game. We had some folks asking about that one. It's coming up in best bets. Trig going to have a best bet for you in that game. One that's come up here a couple times from man Raven Ron over on YouTube. The days of coming on and laying alt run lines with his Baltimore Orioles seem like they are ancient history. With the fact, TB, that they're staring down a sweep from the Chicago Cubs at home, like this is a bit of a head scratcher here. So it's the final game here of it's a 4-game winning streak that you're seeing for the Chicago Cubs. Man, this Thursday night game has to feel like, are we really about to get swept by the Cubs for this O's team? What are you thinking about this one? Because I mean, it's the pitching that you want to bemoan for Baltimore. I mean, yesterday it was the bats going absolutely silent, getting a 4-0 blank ski. How do you see this one shaking out? Because it almost is head scratching to think how poor Baltimore has played against an opponent that you thought that there could have been some buy signs here against, and there hasn't been any.
Yeah, nobody is looking more forward to the All-Star break than the Orioles. They really need a break.
So
true. They have a lot of talent. They're loaded, but let me share my rankings with you. So I rank every team's lineup, bullpen, and starting pitching on a curve of 30. Baltimore currently, the batting is ranked 20, bullpen ranked 18, and so that's very mediocre. It's actually sub-mediocre, where the Cubs batting was ranked 12th, bullpen ranked 14th. So I was very tempted to take the Cubs here today because I'm a big Steele fan, but couldn't quite do it. But actually, one bet that really looked good to me, but I didn't pull the trigger, was the first 5 Cubs plus half run. I think you can get that for minus 130, which is really good value because I think Steele can at least hold them down somewhat for the first 5 innings. The Orioles are still getting really good prices from the books. They're getting very overrated, shall we say. But they do have a lot of talent. They're just underperforming right now. But the book is still pricing them like they're hitting top 5 in MLB, and they're just not. So I think the Cubs first 5 would be a decent play here, but I didn't pull the trigger on it.
Trey, what about you in this one? Because what was it? 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position last night for Baltimore. Even in a slump, like that's a number that you haven't been accustomed to seeing when you're talking about O's baseball here. So is that going to have a little bit more positive regression to the mean? Maybe you look towards an over. We've seen under money come in, pushing this off the key number of 9. But how do you see this game shaking out here for Baltimore? Is that a standalone, it was just a rough night there, or is that kind of a harbinger of things to come as they head on into the All-Star break here?
Well, Dan, I just want to say that I've been on these shows as probably the only person on earth that didn't give up on the Cubs. Okay. So
true.
So I'm still, and I still am holding Cubs futures. Now, I'm not saying that this little mini, couple of games is the Cubs just being better. It's definitely some Orioles regression, but I still think the Cubs are a little bit undervalued. And I feel like Tokyo Brand is going to agree with me. Albert Suarez has a 2.48 ERA and a 1.2 WHIP in Major League Baseball in 2024. Ridiculous. I mean, we watched TB and I, between the two of us, probably watched every start this guy made in Korea for 3 years. And so the fact that he's had as much success as he's had in a starting role with the Orioles this year is almost, it's just hard to wrap my head around. I could only play against him. And then the fact that he's just $1.40 favorite against Justin Steele. So I'm with TB. It would have to be I'd have to find a way to play the Cubs here. I feel like I missed my chance, with the Cubs in this series. They've already won the first 2 games. But, Steele's a guy that just won. I had to double check and make sure, but this is a fact. He has a whip. His whip is 1, which is insane for a starting pitcher. And he just won his first game, I believe, last time out. So he had just been yeah, right. And he played, I think he pitched a complete game shutout on the Friday afternoon game. I mean, that's for him to be 1-3 and have made pretty much all of his starts. I think he missed one at one point. To have a 1 whip and only 1 win is insane bad luck. I think some of that evens out for him. And I also think it's devalued a little bit just how well he's pitched when he has been in there this year. So, yeah, I would. It's Cubs or pass. I actually think Brandon probably gave the best. Probably the best angle would be to try to go first 5, just because I could see the Orioles getting a timely hit at some point. I don't know what the +0.5 run is, but maybe Cubs +0.5 run if it's not too expensive, and then just try to target. Yeah, that's not bad. Cubs +0.5 a run. And then you just isolate Steele against Suarez. That exactly. Would be the way I would play that game.
Yeah, and you shorten the game.
Suarez
Go ahead.
2 years. Suarez pitched 2 years here in Japan for the Yakult Swallows, and he was awful. So, and that was before he went to Korea. So, I mean, I can't believe how he's performing. Awesome. I'm a big Steele fan. I love Justin Steele.
Offhand, so, I didn't write these numbers down, but offhand, I think the Cubs run a lot and attempt to steal a lot. And Albert Suarez, the way you get him, he does not control the run game well. He struggled with this in Korea like crazy. Guys would get on, they'd steal every time. And he just hasn't given up a lot of base runners this year. But if the Cubs can get some base runners on, they're probably going to run all over him. I could see that happening too.
So you guys talked too a lot about Steele and whether it's on TikTok, and we also had Alicia over on TikTok asking about taking the Cubs plus the 1.5. I think the guys prefer to shorten the game here, ISO in on Steele versus Suarez, and take the half a run in the first 5. But full game, I mean, rather than lay that -180, I would probably look towards the money line more so if you're looking to back the Cubbies here. But you guys talked a lot about Steele, and TB, one of your absolute gold mines has been ISOing in on these pitcher props thanks to your time as a scout. And they're talking about the Justin Steele strikeouts thrown. We're looking at 5.5 -110. Another one is if you think he's going to be going deep. I mean, this one's a little bit more out of the range than I would like to bet. Of the outs recorded, Justin Steele sitting at 17.5. The over though -180. So TB, anything that gets you interested there to back any Justin Steele specific props, or do you take the way that you're attacking it? First 5 kind of parlays in, so to speak, backing Justin Steele. What do you think about those numbers?
Well, our viewers are very highly educated because that's a great bet. The over 17.5, which means will Justin Steele complete 6 innings or not? The price is a little steep at -180, which is why I didn't put it out as a play. But he strikes out about 8.7 per 9. The Orioles strike out at about 7.5 per 9. So, yeah, I have his strikeout projection right at 6. But I have his outs recorded at 19.7. So definitely over on that if you can swallow the price.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it gets a little bit juicy there, but sometimes that's what's going to happen in these prop markets. Yeah. They would rather juice the thing to hell than just move the number. Is what I run into more often than not. What were you going to say, TB?
There's no alt lines for those, like there are for team totals and run lines. So you take what you get.
Yeah, Jared asking about the Nerfy on the O's. The only thing that I would worry about is getting them lit up a little bit early. As we said, the pitching advantage definitely goes the way of Steele. I mean, if you think the bats are bad again, maybe ISO in on a team total under for the Baltimore Orioles. Not looking at the
Nerfy guys
here on the screen.
I gotta throw
Nerfy guys are like
thought out
pack addicts.
I got to throw a thought out on the total. I wouldn't be taking an under here. The only thing that concerns me about Steele is he sits like 92, and but a lot of different pitches, like that's just what he throws. But the Orioles struggle with velo. Like, so the Orioles are actually 29th or 28th in the league against velo above 95 plus. So they struggle with like guys that throw really hard. Now, it doesn't mean Steele's not going to pitch well here, but the way the Orioles kind of hunt pitchers is they look to sit on some off speed. They could hit a couple balls out, but again, I'd be more concerned with what kind of damage the Cubs can do against Suarez. So if I was going to play a total, it would definitely be the over. Not a question there. Total would be the over for me. And I would just be more or less willing to play against Albert Suarez, who I don't think can keep this up.
Yeah, and I think last thing on this game, and then we're going to talk Reds. We had a question about that from C-Bands. And if you partner with these guys over at WagerTalk, you'll be getting a lot of those C-Bands. How about that, gentlemen? But yeah, so last thing that I wanted to say on this game is Raven Rom makes a good point. O's will win more if they didn't rely on the home run so much. Yeah, if they got back to playing a little bit more small ball, getting balls in play, sure. But it's almost like when you get in one of these slumps when you're swinging out of your socks, it's like until you get contact, you can't quite get out of it. So I'm with you, Raven Ron. Just when does that happen? It's kind of like banging a head up against the wall as it stands right now. All right, let's swing back to C-Band's question. This is one of the early games. There is we got 4 of them going before 3:45 today, so we'll talk one of them here going at 1:10 p.m. Eastern. It's Cincinnati Reds against Colorado, and you're laying a price here on the home team, that's for sure. But this question was simple for C-Band. Maybe he's looking for a parlay piece, maybe he's just looking to eat the chalk, but he says Cincinnati Reds, do they get the win? What do you think, Tokyo Brandon? Reds and the Rockies here.
They do get the win because they have every category solidified here against the Rockies. But Cincinnati is pretty mediocre at everything. Their bullpen, fairly mediocre. Their batting, fairly mediocre at the moment. But the Rockies rank in the bottom 3 for almost every category that's measurable. So yes would be my first answer. I can't confirm it right now, and it's bad radio for me to look up stuff, or it's bad TV for me to look up stuff while I'm talking, but I'm going to do it anyway. Hunter Green has gotten lit up against the Rockies in his career. He has a batting average against of 320 and an OPS against of 1.254, which is horrific. And that's in 25 at bats against. So be careful about those Reds today.
So tread lightly, says our man Tokyo Brandon. Any thoughts to wrap up on that one for you, Trig? Because laying that kind of price, I'd rather just look elsewhere on the board. It's a pretty hefty board here on Thursday. Typically smaller slate, but we got some other games to choose from, and that's probably what I would do in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to waste much time here. I mean, the Rockies road splits are really bad. Gomber can be okay. Yeah. Like it's just
on the diamond. Trust in the process has paid off for him, and trust in the process has always paid off year over year for Tokyo Brandon. Number 1 in MLB profit coming off a winning day yesterday. Brandon's got a 4% best bet up in MLB today. You can check that out over at his page, wt.buzz/TB. My favorite question that I've seen in the YouTube chat thus far is from our man Seth. And he's asking, are we really taking the Phils to sweep the Dodgers tonight? We were talking about this before we came on. So, I'm going to take my Phillies flag and fly it. It's going to be Aaron Nola on the bump as they're eyeing the sweep here. Landon Knack going to be opposing him. It was 2 different ways that the team kind of won. It was the 10-1 rolling, and then they got the major's best 60th victory. Count them up, 60 with a tighter triumph, and it was 4-3 in that one. So thoughts for you in this one, Trig? You went to the well. One of your free plays on Monday was bet the Phillies any way you want to bet them and roll them on over. That was a rocking chair winner. Can Phillies fans expect a sweep here, or are you looking to maybe take some of that plus money? What do you think?
I would go back to the Phillies for a lot of the same reasons. I mean, we did a really long, sort of drawn out breakdown of that game on Monday. It was a standalone video. And what I talked about a lot was the Dodgers kind of, running out these, like Landon Knox actually had a pretty solid season. So he may be the outlier in terms of like, he might actually belong. But I think from a general high level, like the point I was trying to make is, and I think it was Bobby Miller that we in that start, like the Dodgers essentially have a AAA rotation that's just pitching at the big league level, and it gets glossed over because of how good the team is, the overall team is. So if this was a different organization, I mean, you have a massive adjustment for the fact that, Buehler is hurt and on the IL. Now we've got Glass now, Kershaw out all season. Like they're missing like what would, May, the list goes on, right? Like it's extensive. And then it's turned into like every fifth day, Gavin Stone, Knack. Paxton's actually, been a lifesaver fact that he's been able to throw as many innings as he has. But even he's not like someone that should be in a starting rotation at this point on a team like the Dodgers, in my opinion. So the Phillies, and then the big point I made with the Phillies coming into the series was, if you get Schwarber and Harper back, they average like significantly more runs per game with Harper and Schwarber in the lineup than when they weren't when they're not in the lineup. So you had a 10-day stretch where the Phillies went like 5-4, only not really scoring runs. Those two come back instantly. Offense is more productive. What did we get, Dan? That game, I think it was like 10-1 or something. It was a complete blowout. When we did that video, I think on Tuesday for the opener of this series. Last night, a little bit more competitive. I would stay right there and just ride the Phillies at this point. You couldn't get me to bet against Aaron Nola here, and the way that the Phillies are rolling, coming off of not having their two most like kind of biggest impact players for like 2 weeks. I would have to be Phillies or pass for me.
Phillies or pass for our man Adam Trigger. Any thoughts for you? Any pitcher props that you may be eyeing this one? I always mention as the jaded Phillies fan, like in these kind of spots is when I almost wish that it wasn't Aaron Nola on the bump, just because it feels like when it's the slam dunk spot is when he kind of ends up getting cracked around the third or fourth inning. So any thoughts on any props in this game, or any thoughts here on the side? Do the Phils get the sweep? What say you, TB?
No pitcher props because my numbers pretty much fall in line with the book. I have Aaron Nola at 6 strikeouts and 17.7 outs. So yeah, it's pretty much in line with the book. I do like the Phillies, unfortunately, but yeah, it's really hard to sweep a team like the Dodgers. So I'm laying off this game. Not much else to say. I agree with Adam. We were talking about this before we went on air, but the Dodgers are the only team out there that are rolling out AAA pitchers every day and getting away with it so far. They can get away with it against the Diamondbacks and the Giants, but I don't think they can get away with it against the Phillies or the Braves. So that's what we're seeing here. It's tough to sweep, though, so I'm staying off this one.
I know on our shorts feeds over here, YouTube Shorts, and in our TikTok feed, we don't have any audio going. YouTube is rolling strong here, so just bear with us. We'll keep on rolling here. Guys, let's. I definitely like the breakdown from both of you guys on that one. One of the other questions that we saw, some folks were asking, are we taking plus money on the Marlins today? I don't know what makes you want to take plus money with the Marlins. I mean, they just got rolled yesterday. So Tokyo Brandon, can you make any case for taking Drew Martin's Miami Marlins in this one? Because I don't know where that one came from.
The Marlins are the worst team at everything in Major League Baseball. They're worse than the White Sox. So absolutely not. They do have the better pitcher today, but if that's any consolation to you, with a 5+ ERA and a 1.47 WHIP, he's the better pitcher. But the Astros are just talent laden from 1 to 9. They've got a lot of talent. They've got a decent bullpen, so the Astros should come out with this. I would never take the Marlins. You could make them plus 360, and I wouldn't take them.
Yeah, the price might as well be that. I mean, if there's anyone who can talk us into taking dogs, though, it's my man Adam Trigger.
Adam.
But even this one's disgusting, Trig. I mean, we're not betting the fish, right?
Well, I mean, I was looking to see. So up until like a couple minutes ago, the Astros hadn't announced a starter. It looks like it's going to be Jake Bloss, who again, like these teams, man, like I don't remember this happening as much as it's happened this year, where guys are just, it's like AA, one start at AAA. Even if it's not good, it's like, all right, like next guy up. Like TB talked about a guy that the Angels just called right from AA. It's not even like he's having this is the Angels pitcher. It's not even like he's having a great season at AA. And it's like, no, right to the bigs. Because that's how much these teams are hurting for pitching. The Astros, kind of fall into that as well, right? Like they've had starter after starter end up on the IL this year. And it's really just like next guy up. So the argument here is that, we have no clue if Jake Bloss belongs in the big leagues at this point, right? And like with Rodri Munoz or with Munoz, at least that when he's on, he can be tough to hit, right? Like that's the thing with Munoz is when he's clicking, his stuff is not bad. Like it's pretty good. But the issue is he's so inconsistent. I talked about this on, I believe, this show last week, where you just, if he'll either walk guys or he'll throw it right over the middle of the plate and give up like a 3-run homer. But he will find stretches where he's hitting corners. I want to say it was a start against the Mets earlier this year where he was really good. Last week I bet again on the Marlins. I ended up losing. It was a game they played the White Sox. They were at home, but Munoz came in as the bulk guy and was actually pretty solid. They didn't lose that game because he didn't throw the ball well. They lost because they couldn't hit Drew Thorpe. So it was, you know what I mean? Like so I could see that's how you make a case for the Marlins. But again, like there's just a lot of unknown here, and there's a lot of like, you either got inconsistent guy that can be kind of good, or you roll with Jake Bloss, who's made one start at AAA and now he's in the bigs, like just thrown in there. So it's a tough handicap.
You got to be a pretty hardcore bettor if you're betting this game. They've priced it that way too, because the book doesn't want you to bet it. So there's no way in hell that this Bloss guy should be a -95 favorite, -195 favorite. They're pricing it so you don't bet the game. That's how they're pricing it.
It's like we call it the FU line. It's like you want to bet Houston, exactly. Okay, FU, you're going to lay -195 to do it. Exactly. You know what I mean? So
exactly. Jake Bloss was in last year's draft. Like he was a 2023 draft pick from college. He went to Georgetown. So he's only been in professional baseball for less than a year. That's kind of crazy. Usually it's 2 years.
I think this is a new trend. Teams are doing this before the All-Star break to give their regular rotation a little extra rest. Yeah, I think this is a new trend.
And also to see
real. This can't be what reality. You got. Like these teams cannot be this high. I mean, there's got to be some reason to it. I think they're just giving their starters an extra week of rest.
Yeah, like if it was around like April, April 20th, Brandon, it would maybe make a little bit more sense. But
yeah, but these teams, these teams have 7 starters on the IL, 6 starters on the IL. Like the Astros at one point in time earlier this year had 6 starting pitchers on the IL. The Brewers have like 7, right? It's like this is new to baseball. We haven't seen like teams with a whole the Dodgers. Like these teams have 5 starters on the IL. It's like a normal thing. The Giants a couple weeks ago had 2 starting pitchers. Right? They were filling the rest of the holes with bullpen games. We talked about Hayden Birdsong, or maybe I gave it out as like a client play, but it's like he's another guy. AA, 1 start at AAA. Screw it. We're going to throw him into the big leagues. And it's like, it might work sometimes, but more often than not, it's probably not going to work.
These pitchers are being coddled too. I mean, I grew up watching Nolan Ryan pitch complete game after complete game, and he never got injured. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know.
Tokyo Brandon saying back back in my day, the pitchers were men, and we used to walk uphill both ways to get to school in the snow, in the rain. Guys, last game here before we touch upon our best bets. We got a team total play coming in the Yankees and Rays. It's actually a client play coming your way for free right here from Tokyo. Brandon, Adam Trigger going to be breaking down Tigers and Guardians for his best bet. Last one I want to touch upon is one of these early games going at 2:10 Eastern. Paul Skeens is on the mound. We have to talk this game when Paul Skeens is on the mound. Pittsburgh and Milwaukee. I mean, if it weren't for Savali on the bump, this would be my nerfy play of the century. I mean, you think about what you're getting here out of Skeens, first ever Pirates rookie that's heading to the All-Star break. You keep thinking maybe some regression will come for him, but he just keeps dicing with that insane slurve and fastball combo. And then, just as far as this game goes, yeah, I like the Skeens on the mound, but I don't like the Pittsburgh bats. So, I don't know exactly where I go with this game. Maybe I just look for first five. Maybe I sprinkle a little bit on Skeens to pick up the win at some plus money. Anything for you in this one, TB, other than the fact that whenever we watch this guy pitch, it's just electric? What do you think?
Well, Pittsburgh's batting number 8 out of 30 teams as far as current form and season form combined in my database. So you can trust their bats a little bit, but Skeens here's another one where the outs recorded is 17.5, but it's minus 220 or something like that. He's completed 6 innings or more in 5 starts straight, and he's also struck out 8 or more in all of those starts. So except one, he had 7. So the over 7.5 would be really good in his strikeout prop as well. I don't know what it's priced, but my projections for him are under 7.5, so I'm not making it a play. But if you go by trends, certainly over 7.5 strikeouts or over 17.5 outs recorded would be a good play for Skeens today.
Yeah, and I think I misspoke a little bit, obviously coming off of a game yesterday when the bats were not looking all that great, but a one-game sample size, as we know, TB, is not the way to be betting baseball. That is for sure.
They got the day some right young guys before, who are hitting.
Yeah, the day right before they raked 12 of them the day before. So, the best of times and the worst of times there for those Pittsburgh bats. But agreed, recent form, season form hasn't been too damn bad for them. Trig, anything to wrap up here in Milwaukee and Pittsburgh, this early 2:10 start before we get into our best bets here for the folks?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to play. So this is now the second time that I'm going to have to pass on playing Aaron Savale. So I liked this trade for the Brewers. I thought this was a great trade. They were able to kind of, move a prospect and get a legitimate starting pitcher that's got very good underlying metrics that suggests he should be better than, what he posted during his time with the Rays to start this season. But it's now like the first spot was on the road at the Dodgers. I decided I didn't want to do that. And spot number 2 is now going up against Paul Skeens. So I lean Brewers. I still think the Pirates are not a very good baseball team. I think you have to – it makes it very difficult to bet for or against them when Skeens is on the mound because he's a generational talent, and we know how good he is. But you still have to, take into consideration the fact that, okay, he's probably going to go, 6 innings? And then you still have the Pirates, right? Do you want the Pirates as a favorite? Probably not. The Brewers are still a really good ball club, and Savali could easily match him. So I just decided that, the beauty of not, being the better, right, Dan, is we get to pick which ones we want to bet and which ones we don't want to bet.
Yep.
So I decided that this wasn't the spot to jump in with Savali. And I'll probably wait till the Brewers' next game. So maybe it's, after the All-Star break or whatever, but fair. Lean Brewers. I think the Brewers are just a better baseball team. So you're going to give me plus 105 at home with a pitcher I think could match Skeens. That's the way it would look, but certainly not one of my stronger opinions today.
Take a second, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and hit that little bell over on YouTube. If you're watching us on TikTok, X, Instagram, please hit that follow. Great way to say thanks to these guys running down the games on the board. And Trig, you say we get to pick the games that we bet. We picked 3 good ones yesterday because you had a 3-0 sweep for the clients. You got a best bet coming the way here for the folks in the Tigers and Guardians game, one that the chat has been asking about all show long. So I asked them to hang in there. What's the best bet in Tigers and Guardians, and what can clients expect here tonight over at your page, wt.buzz/AT?
Yeah, so I got a 5% play in Major League Baseball tonight. The reason it's not up on my page yet is I was waiting for a little lineup info. I got it, and it's now up. So I just haven't put the brick out there yet. If you have the long-term package, you just got it. And I will put a brick up as soon as we're done with the show. But don't even wait for that, because we have a great 30-day special right now. It works for me or Tokyo Brandon. It's 30 days for any handicapper. And it's like $7 a day. Can't beat that. You can get my.buzz/AT. And that'll be, I think that promo is good at least all week. So, take advantage of that for whatever handicappers you'd like. As far as my best bet for the show, same situation with the Diamondbacks, in the sense that I feel like I already got my money with the Tigers. So I'm not going to make this a client play, but I would have probably been on the Tigers here had I not cashed with them earlier this week, had they not won last night. It turns out it's probably not the best spot, but I still think the matchup really favors the Tigers here. So, Dan, Spencer Howard's got to be a really nice guy or something, because this dude just gets chance after chance to pitch in the majors. I know you know him well from his time with the Phillies. Then he goes and gets blown up on the Rangers. Then earlier this year, he has like 2 good starts with the Giants, gets pounded, and suddenly the Guardians pick him up, and he's going to start for them today. It's amazing that he's just still getting run out there and starting rotations in the big leagues. I thought for sure this would be Doug Nikhazy. He's a guy that's been down at AAA, AA, AAA for the Guardians. He's awesome, but they're probably going the route that most of these teams probably should, giving their guys a chance to have a little bit of success at the lower levels before just trotting them out in a big league game. Nikhazy pitched yesterday for Columbus. I tweeted that out. They won. He was awesome. So it looks like Spencer Howard's going to serve the role of like placeholder. I do think he's probably a good organizational depth guy. He probably will end up in AAA, but today he's in the big leagues against the Tigers and pitching against John Flaherty. And now where that's moved, I think you're kind of getting a little bit of a bargain. Tigers at home only have to lay like -120, -118, whatever it is. With Flaherty on the mound, who, if you go back prior to his last start, he was rolling. 1 run in 22 and a third innings pitched. He gets blown up by the Angels, but some of that's tied to some back spasms, back issues. It's the reason he hasn't pitched since then. So I don't love playing on guys after they're, while they're dealing with injury, after they, kind of have a thing like that. But he hasn't pitched since late June. The Tigers gave him some time off. So I think I'm in this scenario, I'd be willing to like roll with that and be okay with Flaherty kind of, coming off the extended rest. This series has been extremely competitive. 5 of the 6 games so far between these teams have been 1-run games. I believe every single one of this series. I cashed with the Tigers on Monday. They won 1-0. The Guardians came back and won a crazy 9-8 game on Tuesday. Yesterday, I believe that the Tigers won by 1 run. So, no reason that it can't be another close game. The Tigers should be right in it. And Flaherty has kind of owned the Guardians. Last 3 starts, been scattered across the last couple seasons. His ERA is 2 in 18 innings pitched against this Guardians team, which is, a lot of these guys have kind of been in the lineup for the Guardians. And, finally, Dan, we're seeing the Guardians start to scuffle. They avoided it for so long, but now they're kind of limping into the All-Star break. They've lost 6 of their last 8 on the road. And, the thing that I thought would catch up with this team when they were running out Ben Lively, that's another one of our boys, me and Tokyo Brandon, a KBO guy that's having insane success at the big league level this year. Carrasco, Tristan McKenzie, who they finally sent down, was that the starting pitching was going to catch up to this team eventually. And sure enough, their starting pitching ERA is now 3rd worst in the American League. It's 4.54. And Spencer Howard's not going to improve that. Let me tell you. I don't think he's going to help that 4.54 starting pitching ERA. So the Tigers are a team that I was very much down on the majority of the year when they were being treated like this 90-win team. I think the masses have really given up on this Tigers team, but there's still some talent there. Flaherty's still a guy that, when he's good, he can be like ace caliber good. And I think you're getting a little bit of a bargain, all things considered, only having to lay in the -115, -120 range with Flaherty. So again, another one where the situation didn't sort of arise for me to make it a client play, but from a matchup perspective, I do like Flaherty and the Tigers here, and that will be my best bet for the show.
Tigers best bet, not afraid of the back injury. Flaherty returning to form, says Adam Trigger. You can check out the 5% best bet. It's going to be loaded to his loaded to his page, wt.buzz/AT, shortly after this show finishes. If you're watching us on the rewatch, it's already there. And if you are, make sure you like and comment below. Tokyo Brandon, you're going to get the final word here. Cue the Alleluia chorus for the Yankees fans. It won't be another 4-game losing streak as they finally got the win in not so resounding form yesterday, but they get it done regardless. And you're thinking it might lead here to some positive hitting regression as you're looking towards the team total in this game. Tell us about the best bet you have, and also tell the folks about that 4%er you got rocking for clients tonight.
You know what I'm really thinking is, with all these teams with crappy pitchers, it's amazing no one is signing Trevor Bauer. He's 11-0 in Mexico,
know, right?
with a 1.7 ERA, and he
I was shocked
was
nobody grabbed him.
Proven innocent in a court of law. As a matter of fact, his accuser was thrown in jail for lying, and nobody will sign this guy. Could you imagine if the Dodgers signed Trevor Bauer? It would be unbelievable. Deal with some Twitter backlash for 2 days and enjoy your World Series. But anyway, I digress. So I have a 4% play in Major League Baseball today. Currently number 1 in 2024 in MLB profit. And I love the 4% play. It's a money line play, so you can grab that at my page at WagerTalk.com. So the best bet for the game today, we've got another one of these like fringe type pitchers why is he pitching? Shane Baz, very erratic. He didn't even pitch last season. He has only 1 start this season. And when he pitched 2 years ago, he rarely got out of the 5th inning. He's just a fringe guy, more like a bullpen type pitcher. Don't really know a lot about him, but I know he's not very good. The Yankees have fallen quite quickly and rapidly. But, if this was another team that's in a smaller market, it wouldn't be such a topic in the media. I have the Yankees' current form and season form combined in my database hitting 16, which is very mediocre. I have their bullpen ranked number 4, which is really good. Today, they're going against Shane Baz, and the Yankees team total was 3.5, which I think is way too low. A client play I put out before the show was the Yankees over 3.5 here. Take a look at how the Rays are performing. They're batting 27 out of 30, and their bullpen is ranked 23rd out of 30 teams. So they have a rotten bullpen, a rotten lineup. I do like Arozarena a lot, but underperforming this season. I think I don't like Nestor Cortez's numbers against the Rays in his career. So rather than taking the Yankees on the side, I like their team total. I think 3.5 for a team that's on the road and is going to bat for 9 full innings is a bargain at -125 or -130, whatever your book offers it at. So that's the best bet for the show. Yankees team total over 3.5.
Yankees team total going over the number, a 2% play for free right here from Tokyo Brandon. Thank him by heading on over to his page, checking out his 4%. Trig's got a 5%er rocking tonight. It's all at WagerTalk.com. And don't go anywhere, folks. Coming just under 10 minutes from now. Wager Talk today. You got Kelly Stewart, Ralph Michaels, Marco D'Angelo, and Kyle Anthony alongside Teddy Covers, getting you some winners across all sports that are rocking now. Big thanks to TB. Big thanks to Adam Trigger. I've been Dan Alexander, and we'll see you tomorrow for Friday's edition live here at 11 a.m. on the East Coast, 8 a.m. on the West Coast. Best of luck, everyone. We'll see you right back here for Wager Talk today.